Over the last 2 years, you've probably realized that every single thing that you buy in your life seems to be going up in price. It feels like you just can't get ahead, and you're wondering, how the hell did this happen? If you go to the grocery store, the food that you're buying is more expensive than just 2 years ago. Gasoline, your electric bill, and everything else that you go and consume, it keeps going up in price. Now, the reasons behind this are quite complex, and there's lots of controversy and debate as to what is driving the increase in prices. One theory is that it's supply chain disruptions caused by the government lockdowns that forced everyone into their homes to deal with the pandemic. Another theory is that there's geopolitical conflict, like Russia invading Ukraine, that's causing all sorts of problems and driving energy prices higher, which then trickle throughout the economy. But ultimately, these individual theories, they're small components of what is actually driving the increase in prices of the various goods and services that you buy on a daily basis. The real culprit is that we have a loose monetary policy regime for the last decade or so, since the 2008-2009 financial crisis. We saw the Fed's balance sheet go from about $900 billion to well over $9 trillion in just about 14 years. At the same time, over the last 2 years, we saw the Federal Reserve go ahead and drop interest rates down to 0%, essentially creating free money that can be borrowed by anyone in the economy. Add on to that loose monetary policy, a government that wanted to hand out as much capital as possible. They sent stimulus checks to individual citizens. They bailed out various industries like the airlines, and they continued to pump liquidity into every exotic corner of the financial system. Whenever you get a confluence of these different events, geopolitical conflict, supply chain disruptions, and a historic loose monetary and fiscal policy, it leads to bad outcomes. What we have seen over the last 2 years is that we now have high compounding inflation year over year. Last year, in 2021, inflation broke above 5% over the summer, and it ended the year over 7%. That alone would be a bad situation. But if you fast forward to 2022, we still have inflation readings coming in over 8%, which means that we are now compounding high inflation year after year after year. The Federal Reserve is trying to bring this inflation down. They want to go ahead and raise interest rates higher and higher, and they're trying to create tighter financial conditions. The problem is that they have been unsuccessful so far, and the month-over-month change, even today, of inflation continues to go higher. At the end of the day, the part that most people don't understand is that while prices have been going up, wages have not been keeping pace. This means that most people are actually getting paid less in purchasing power terms today than they were just 2 years ago. The problem with this is that as the price of goods and services rises and your wages don't keep up, that means that you end up falling further and further behind. Ultimately, there will be a day when the CPI headline inflation number comes down. I don't think that we will stay above 5, 6, 7, 8% forever. But the problem is, we are not going back to the world that we previously had. All of those food price increases, all of those increases to the goods and services you buy on a daily basis, they're not coming back. You won't see McDonald's, Chipotle, or the grocery store roll back those price increases. The increases in the prices that you pay are here to stay. That is the problem with high inflation, is that yes, the rate of change may come down, but the actual price increase is permanent, and there's no capitalist in the world that'd be willing to bring those prices back down once the consumer has gotten normalized to actually paying that same price. So if you're wondering why everything is getting so expensive around you, it's a convoluted answer. There's a lot of complexity. Yes, there are supply chain disruptions. Yes, there's geopolitical conflict. But the number one culprit in my mind is the loose monetary and fiscal policy that was pursued by central bankers and politicians, both in the United States and abroad. The problem now is that we have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. We are in a recession. And in that recession, a Federal Reserve that is actually hiking interest rates and trying to create tighter financial conditions. We've never seen something like this before. I don't know where we go from here, but what I do know is that you're right. When you go to the grocery store or you buy other goods and services, the prices are going up. They're unlikely to come back down. And now we're in a weird position where we're in a recession and we have high inflation. That's called stagflation. And in these situations throughout history, it's like walking a tightrope. We have to be very careful because any potential solution may actually cause bigger and worse problems rather than being able to solve the issues that we currently have. Hey you, did you like this video? Great, make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and see you next time.